Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to check in. We're going to get the temperature, your temperature, and the feel for the Phillies All Stars and for the Phillies snubs. Phillies have 2 All Stars elected to the game. Zack Wheeler, of course, as we talked about earlier, should be the National League's starting pitcher in Atlanta. His hometown, by the way, which I think would be kind of appropriate to give him the nod in his hometown, especially to do it in a Phillies uniform, because he's going to get booed by the Braves fans that are there, and he'll just be smug. Remember when Chase Utley got booed at Citi Field? Like, he and Cliff Lee got booed, and Utley was like, you're just taking it in. Because Utley was like the ultimate villain for the Mets. Chase Utley legitimately hates the Mets. I think it would be really cool for Zack Wheeler to do it, excuse me, in his home city. And then Kyle Schwarber was named a DH reserve. He'll get an at-bat, maybe 2. Shohei Ohtani is the starting DH. No surprise there. But Shohei Ohtani will be the starting DH. Schwarber will get an at-bat later in the game. Not surprised that either of these 2 guys made the All-Star team. Zack Wheeler, we laid out in the first 20 minutes. Kyle Schwarber has had an excellent year. He's on pace for 48 home runs, I believe, which would be his career high. His average has been better than it's been in years past. His chase rate, or excuse me, not his chase rate, his whiff rate, while it's starting to regress a little bit since the beginning of the year, has been better than it was in seasons past. A little bit of a down June for Kyle Schwarber compared to other Junes in the past, but a really great May kind of balanced that out. He's in the 95th percentile or better in expected slug, average exit velocity. You get the point. When Kyle Schwarber hits the ball, he hits the ball hard. And he now has 27 home runs, 82 hits, 251 average, 386 on base, and a 924 OPS. Kyle Schwarber more than deserving of being a National League All-Star. Now, let's talk about the 3 guys that didn't get named All-Stars, and I am going to rank them in terms of surprise, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to start at 3, and the least surprising one for me, and this might shock you, Andrew, because we talk about this guy all the time and how much we love this guy. The least surprising one for me is Ranger Suarez. And the reason that it's least surprising is not because of how good he's been. Ranger Suarez has been just utterly elite since returning from the IL. It's because he's only made 12 starts so far this year. He's 7-2 with a 1.99 ERA over 12 starts. Now, you could argue Paul Skeens made about the same amount of starts, and he was not only an All-Star, he was the All-Star starter for the National League last year. But Ranger Suarez, I think nationally, isn't as intriguing because he doesn't throw as hard. He doesn't have that wipeout stuff. He just goes about his business. He is pitching like an elite pitcher this year, but he's not the intrigue of Paul Skeens starting. I get why Paul Skeens was the starter last year. Ranger, to me, is probably the least surprising because of the fact that he missed so much time due to injury. His first start this year was on May 4th, which means he missed all of April and the first couple games of March. He missed probably 4 or 5 starts. You know, Zack Wheeler has 17 starts, so I guess Ranger probably would have been in that 16, 17 range. If he were to have pitched the entire year, and pitched this well, I don't think there's any justification that he would be left off the All-Star roster, but I think because of the fact that he missed time in the beginning of the year, that's the reason to me that he is not an All-Star. I can live with it. It stinks, but I can live with it. Number 2 is Trea Turner. Now, some people might say Trea Turner's number 1. Francisco Lindor was named the National League All-Star starter, and as I said, I probably a few weeks ago would have voted for Francisco Lindor myself. In fact, I did vote for Francisco Lindor myself. Over the last few weeks, though, I think Trea Turner has really made a push to be on this roster. And instead, the infielders that were taken, or the shortstop specifically that was taken, was Elly De La Cruz. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Elly De La Cruz is not a deserving All-Star. He's hit .277, 18 home runs, stolen 22 bags, OPS of 836. Elly De La Cruz is a deserving All-Star. I think Trea Turner had merit, leads the National League in hits, has been excellent this year in his own right, really has been one of the most consistent hitters on the Phillies lineup, basically from jump. if you would have said you took Trea Turner over Elly De La Cruz, I would have had no issues. I also have no issue with Elly De La Cruz being named one of the representatives. The one that I'm the most surprised at is Cristopher Sanchez. Because Cristopher Sanchez this year has had a statistically better year in almost every category than he did last year when he was named an All-Star. Last year, Cristopher Sanchez was 7-4 with a 2.96 ERA, which was, he had an incredible first half to the season, and he threw 103 in a third inning, struck out 87 with a 1.23 whip. He was really, really good and was deserving of being an All-Star last year. He's been better this year. 7-2, 2.68 ERA. So his ERA has dropped 2.28 from last year to this year. He's thrown 2 2/3 less innings, but has struck out 21 more hitters, and his whip has gone down from 1.23 to 1.13. I'm not quite sure the justification of Cristopher Sanchez not making the All-Star team, because he made it last year, and he's better this year than he was last year. So that's my order. I think not surprised at Ranger because of the missed time. Semi-surprised at Trea Turner, but I can understand it. Cristopher Sanchez, I don't get. I really don't understand Cristopher Sanchez not being an All-Star. Now, all of this is arbitrary. All of this is, it's an exhibition game in July. But I think it holds weight for the players. I think it holds weight when you're considering the scope of a guy's career or the scope of his season. I think Cristopher Sanchez deserves to be an All-Star. I'm surprised that he's not. Now, Andrew, I want to ask you, what is your ranking in terms of most surprising to least surprising of this group?
Yeah, I think mine are going to fall the same way yours do. Ranger, like you said, he just didn't play enough. If he had been playing all season long and he had these stats, yeah, I would be very shocked that he's not there. Trea Turner has been phenomenal this year. This is the first time in his Phillies career that I feel like he's actually is worth the contract that he was given, being what he's doing at the plate, But yeah, the biggest.
I agree with you. This and I talked last year about how he actually had a sneaky good numbers year.
Yeah.
But I think it was due in large part because he was so good in May and June before the injury. This is the best complete season of Trea Turner of the Phillies' Trea Turner tenure.
Definitely, 100%. So I do think he was deserving to go. So I was shocked by that. But yeah, the one I'm shocked by the most is Sanchez. Like you said, putting up better stats than he did last year being the All-Star. He's third in Cy Young right now. There's no reason why he's not there or he's not going. We were talking about it a little prior to the show, and now they're putting in that legacy slot now for a player. So maybe that could be a whole thing as to why, putting Kershaw in there is why Sanchez is not going. But it makes absolutely zero sense that he will not be seen in Atlanta.
Yeah, now granted, I will say this. Replacements are going to get announced over the next couple of weeks. For example, Chris Sale is on the 60-day IL. Chris Sale was named to the All-Star team. Chris Sale is not going to go take up a roster spot while he's on the 60-day IL. So I do understand that there is some room. Cristopher Sanchez may be the next guy up. He might get announced in the next 2 days that he's going to Atlanta as well. Chris Sale, before the injury, was pitching really, really well. A deserving All-Star, no doubt about it. 114 strikeouts and a 2.5 ERA. Chris Sale had been excellent prior to the injury. Now, I will say this. I don't believe that we are done seeing the rosters. There's going to be replacements. Guys will opt out. Pitching, especially with the pitchers, if they're going to pitch on Sunday or even Saturday, some guys may say, I'm not going to go if I'm starting on Sunday. So these things are fluid. But there's 2 snubs to me in terms of pitchers in baseball. Cristopher Sanchez in the National League and Joe Ryan in the American League. I don't know how Joe Ryan didn't get selected. Now, I did a video in March of 5 players I think could make the All-Star team for the first time in their career. Joe Ryan was one of them. I think he may be a replacement player if one of the American League players doesn't go and pitch. But I think those 2 guys are the standouts for me in terms of replacements or players that should be All-Stars that were not.